I say we get started just so that we don't lose any time. And I know Melissa has a lot in store for us.
Yeah.
So first, I would love to welcome everyone to the Year of Joy live event. And let me introduce to you who we have leading us this morning, this afternoon, and this evening. Melissa Goodwin is here. Melissa is the founder and CEO of the Joy, a media and fashion company, connecting you with the best for less from fashion and home to lifestyle, something I'm very excited about. She is also the founder and CEO of Breakthrough Group, a training and development company serving thousands of clients from top entrepreneurs and leaders to Fortune 500 companies to become masterful speakers, trainers, and coaches. Melissa, we'd love to welcome you today, and we're thrilled to have you as part of our Year of Joy family.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Excellent. Well, we're going to hear Melissa talk and educate us soon on the power of self-expression, which I'm really looking forward to personally. But before then, let's have a little chat with Melissa around how self-expression and joy interacts. So maybe we'll kick off, Melissa, you telling a little bit about your own story of finding your own self-expression power. How did that come about?
Yeah, thanks for that. I grew up learning self-expression happens in two different ways. I grew up with a matriarchal line of women who were very self-critical of their bodies. And I sat around a lot of kitchen tables and holiday parties listening to women in my family talk about dieting and trying to be skinny. And so that was one of the expressions that I grew up subconsciously recording as, in order to get attention and stand out, in order to be myself, I have to be skinny. The second rule that I sort of picked up growing up was from my father, who was a super hard worker. He had his own business. You know, my dad lost his father at 19 and was told, you now have to support our whole family. And so he has this, beautiful story of being able to pick up these pieces that he lost and be able to build this incredible business for himself in life. And one thing he taught us was work ethic. And so working really hard was really important in my family. And I learned that in order to really stand out and be successful, I had to work really hard. And so there I was, the first part of my life, working really hard, climbing my career ladder, achieving a lot of success, all while dieting. And that was my life. And I found myself about 6-7 years ago at the bottom of my closet, very successful and the right size, and totally miserable, just totally miserable. And I remember, this is just a really great moment for me, because I remember I was thinking, okay, I got to do something today. It's a Sunday. This is about 2017. I remember pulling out my drawer of leggings, which, by the way, I love fashion. I'll talk about it later. But leggings, I had every kind of legging you could possibly imagine. And, just the women in the room right now who understand the super rare Lululemons, the beautiful faux leather aloes, you name it, I had it in that drawer. And I just was like thinking, oh my God, how many leggings do I have? And I started pulling them out. 5, 12, 15, 24, 36. Yeah, Andrew, I see your eyes. You're like, holy cow. I probably had over 50 leggings in my drawer. And what was not surprising was how many leggings I had. What was really surprising was the answer when I asked myself, how many of these leggings am I wearing? And the answer was none. I wasn't wearing any of them. You know what I was wearing were the 2 black leggings sitting in the other drawer, the boring black leggings. I was wearing those. And I called a best friend later that afternoon because something was wrong. I started to feel that. And I was like, what's going on? Like, 50 something leggings I'm not wearing. These are my favorite leggings. These are things that I curated. I love these leggings. And she goes, well, why do you think you're not wearing them? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, your leggings don't care, Melissa. The workouts don't care. Like, wear the leggings. And then she said something that changed my life. She said, I dare you to wear those leggings. And so for the next 30 days, true story, I made myself wear the leggings. I put on these beautiful leggings that I'd always wanted to wear and I never let myself wear. And what happened next was just a divine miracle, because who knew how good a workout feels when you love the leggings you're wearing? Who knew how much confidence you could have when you start to express your true nature, the true passion inside of you? And so over those next 30 days, true story, I lost a ton of weight. My relationship with my husband reignited this fiery passion we hadn't had, and this goes beyond the 30 days as well. I began to remember what my true passions were. And from there, everything in my life changed. And that is why I'm so excited today and beyond to talk about self-expression, because we limit ourselves so much every day based on just the patterns, behaviors, subconscious ways we've grown up, the things that we didn't realize we were taught that sort of undoes who we really are, our truth. And real joy is freedom to be exactly who you are and who you love being. And I found that in my closet that day, and I've never stopped since then. So.
Yeah, I can't relate to the leggings, I must admit.
There's something else, though, I'm sure, Andrew. There's something else in your life.
There is. Shirts is my thing at the moment, I must admit. The people who know me from the conference circuit will know that I do like to wear nice, colourful shirts. And that wasn't always the case. I used to be the Steve Jobs type black T-shirt presenter, fit in. And especially coming from a British school system, where we all had school uniforms, we were told standing out is the worst thing you can do. Expressing yourself is not good. You have to wear the uniform, you have to conform. So I suppose there's this difference between conformity and freedom and self-expression that you sort of found through your leggings in this case.
Yeah. Well, it's not only that, right? We sort of all grow up with this idea of what the successful life should be. We go to school, we fit in with a family, we get a job, or, I should say we go to college. For most of us, we get a job. It's this one size fits all path that I think we conform to that makes sense. It's a promise of success, but it's not a promise of self-expression. And if you look at the people who inspire you the most in the world, if we were to just even ask all of our attendees right now, who inspires you? I've asked this question to thousands of people. Who inspires you? Not one of them took the conformity, the average path. You brought up Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs dropped out of college. He went to audit the classes. Oh, I just read something so neat about Steve Jobs. He audited a class because he dropped out. He could take whatever classes he wanted. He sat in a class on fonts, and he learned how to do like calligraphy or something. And because of that class, he and Apple were able to create like the original serif fonts and I think I have this right. The font name could be a little off, but like because of that, he was able to express a greater art later in his life. And so if you look at anybody in your world, dead, alive, personal, famous, and you ask yourself, like, who inspires me the most in terms of self-expression? Most of the time, it's a one-size-fits-one path they took because they were true to themselves. They followed their heartbeat. They followed the inner fire, the inner intuition that led them to be more and more of themselves. And I think we're very attracted to people in the world who are 100% themselves, are we not?
We are, but that's interesting when we then struggle ourselves sometimes to be that person. So we might admire this other person, but it becomes a challenge for us personally to do that. Why do you think that is? Why do people sometimes struggle to express themselves as they would desire?
Yeah, I mean, I can answer personally with the broadest answer for all of us. It's a love versus fear situation. We don't learn how to love ourselves. And so instead we default to fear. We don't know how to love ourselves. So we default to fear. I think one of the biggest things is thinking about where you've lost your power to, or where you're not aware of your power. And in the workshop today, I'm actually going to do an activity for us to try to diagnose, like, where are the blind spots along my path of losing my power somewhere? There's a analogy in The Wizard of Oz. I love this analogy of the Green Witch. Do you remember in The Wizard of Oz when the Green Witch gets water thrown on her and she starts melting? That is what happens to us if we're not aware of our power. That's what happens to us when we're in this place where we can't vocalize, we can't think for ourselves, we can't fully be free to be ourselves. It's like we're half of who we know we can ultimately be. And I think what keeps us there is the fear of the fear of feeling. One other quick thought here, Andrew, is something I call the range. We all have a range, and it's almost like you can imagine it as like a piano keyboard, playing a piano of your range. Most of us have one octave that we play, and we go up and down that octave. And I think the scary thing for people is, how willing are you to feel the things that don't feel good to feel? Does that make sense? Those difficult emotions, I've struggled my entire life to feel vulnerability, to feel embarrassment, to feel shame. I'm still working on that process. But once you begin to start to feel the difficulties and feel the highs, you can start to feel who you really are and be in that. And I know not everyone's a feeler, but the emotional piece is so important to being able to know what you know, which is one of my favorite authors, Joan Rosenberg. She's a psychiatrist. She says, when you're able to feel those emotions, you then know who you are, and you know what you know. And so that's a very long-winded answer to that. There's a lot of pieces to that, but it is about being able to say, I am courageous enough to open up my range, to feel the highs and to feel the lows of who I really am. And once you do that, what's on the other side is this courageous confidence that nobody can take from you. And that is joy, and that is self-expression.
That is the power, isn't it? I just read in the chat that one of my favorites has to be David Bowie. And I don't know if anybody's seen his recent film, his bio film, Moon Age Daydream, and really just showing, back then in the 70s to express himself and his sexuality and everything through his clothes and his makeup and his stage personalities. Maybe a few drugs involved, but we won't go down that road. But he was, able to inspire a generation really with his self-expression. And I think, his range was massive, but I think all of us can push to the edges of our range, even if it's a shorter range. I love what you said, Melissa, about, feeling that uncomfortableness and being good. But I find, for myself at least, the judgment comes in, the self-judgment. What are other people going to think about me? What are other people going to say if I put this on? Am I going to get laughed at? Remember some school experience from the schoolyard where some kid said something because you had the wrong jumper on or whatever. And those things stick, right? Somehow, those experiences. And so how do people start shaking them? Sort of what's sort of how can they sort of dive if they're a little bit thinking about how they can find more joy through their self-expression? How would you sort of say they can dive into it?
Yeah, it goes back again to what's the cost on your life. I could have a very successful life, lots of money, lots of acclaim. I could be very, very thin according to the way that my reptilian brain wants me to be. And I could also stay miserable the rest of my life. I could be missing the joy and the moments with my daughters and with my husband and with my best friends. And I could not stop to smell the roses, and I could take vacation and just be stressed out the whole time, right? I mean, so you can fill in the blanks with your own stories. What is the cost? And I think it goes back again to that green witch from the Wizard of Oz. It's like, what does it look like to be 100% you? 100% you. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What gets to happen for you in your life, in the world, and all those things because of that? And what's the cost? And Andrew, I've got a couple activities today in our workshop that I will go through to help everybody start to feel what that can feel like. And then you just get to decide, am I going to sit in the discomfort of what it feels like to be so super scared? Scared. Like, it's a Marianne Williamson quote again, where she says, we are afraid of our greatest selves. We are afraid of our greatness. And I will, probably leave everybody today in this place of, it's just a choice. You can sit in the fear for a little while and then decide to be that 100% powerful you and take a step forward into the dreams that only you have and the expression that the world is waiting for you to be. Or you could just stay where you are. And for some people, I hope I'm not coming across with this assumption that you aren't already that. For some people, there's probably great wisdom with our attendees here today with ways that they've stepped forward into self-expression, and feel free to use the chat if you have. But it is a decision. It's just a decision.
I'm super excited. I know we could talk all day. We've done it before, but that would be selfish of me to hold you to that. So I'm going to let you now take everybody on this journey you've talked about. So thank you for introing this through your connection between joy and self-expression. But now I'm going to go off camera and leave it to you. And you can share whatever you like for the next 35 minutes. Go for it.
Well, that's wonderful. And I would love for you guys both to feel free to engage in this conversation. I do have slides, but I don't want it to seem as if I'm presenting here. I have, as they mentioned, a training and development company, and I really believe in these types of workshops being a conversation. So if you are in the comments, feel free to use those comments. For some of you, you need to be seen and be witnessed today in some of these activities. And just so you know, we're here to see that and to witness it. And if we had more time, I'd probably do breakouts and all that good stuff, but I will be moving a little bit more quickly. But if there's any questions, Andrew, Debbie, feel free to stop me. And just for the sake of creating some boundaries here, 10 minutes at the hour, we will finish and then hopefully give some opportunity for Q&As. Yes. Okay, perfect. Great. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Okay, I'm going to try to share my screen here. So be with me for one moment, and then we will get started. I do want you all to know too, I have a daughter home on spring break and I have a dog, and both have interrupted me twice now. So we're all here, right? Okay, so can you all see Finding Joy Through the Power of Self-Expression? Just that slide. Just need a little feedback. Yes? Okay. Well, we already talked about my story. So it's now time to really talk about your story of self-expression. And I want to ask the question, what percentage, and you can just use the chat box here, what percentage of people do you believe are thriving, fully self-expressed in every area of their life? What percentage of people? Okay, so Kara, you said 25%. Good guess. Let's hear a couple more answers. What percentage of people are thriving across every area of their life from sort of that 100%-ness that I was talking about? Okay, good answers. I've got everything from 5% to 30%. The answer, according to Gallup, is 7%. 7% of people. Now, let me just hold on one second. I just want to make sure I can change my slide. I'm going to have to open up this. Whoops. That's not what I want. Hang on one second, guys. Navigator. That's what I want. 7%. There it is. It's 7% of people. Gallup says 7% of people are thriving across every area of their life. That for me is a definition of being 100%. That's not a statistic of perfection, by the way. That's you deciding you're exactly where you want to be. And this statistic bothers me a lot. Being someone who helps people really step into their skin at 100%, their full power, because we are one of among 100 billion galaxies in the entire universe. And according to Stephen Hawking, all of it exists for us. So here we are living in this gorgeous, beautiful, big ball. You are curating this life that has endless possibilities. You have this heartbeat that nobody else in the world has. You have a formula for yourself that is here for your ultimate expression. And we still struggle. We suffer. You know, statistics show that 82% of us suffer from imposter syndrome. That means that we show up in rooms and don't feel like we belong. That means that we stand down. That means that we stay average. And it doesn't have to be that way. And so for today, our goal is for you to embody your 100%, or at least begin that journey, to get on that journey of 100%. And with our time today, I really am going to share 3 ways. I'm going to give you a little bit of an opportunity to interact. I'm going to give you some opportunities to do some activities and to take these activities with you to unleash your self-expression. Okay. And so if you don't have it yet, make sure you have a piece of paper and a pen. A notebook would be great. You're going to need some blank sheets of paper. If not, just take notes on your computer if you're at your computer and do these activities with me, okay? But the number one and first way that I believe we unleash our self-expression is through a self-expression inventory. I have worked with many well-being models over the course of my career, from Gallup all the way to the infamous Life book, all the way to creating my own. And what I have found is the most powerful research about well-being is the interconnectedness of your well-being. Self-expression does not live in a vacuum. It is contingent upon many, many different things, all the way to me sitting at the bottom of my closet, finding self-expression through the leggings I'd already bought for myself some other time in my timeline. It's pretty remarkable where self-expression lives and dies in our life. And that is why it's so important to notice the interconnectedness of every area of your life. So I'm going to take you through a quick little assessment. Okay. This is an assessment that I have, created over time. And it's, I'm sitting with scientists. So Debby and Andrew can add probably a ton of context to well-being with all of their research, which I love. But after many, many versions of this, I want you to just go with your gut answer here, okay? Your first answer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through 6 different categories of your life. These are broad stroke categories. And I want you to think about these categories on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100%. 10 would be embodying your 100% yes. 1 would be embodying, I don't even know that I've thought about this. And then 5, of course, is average. And I just want you to go through with me each one of these and give yourself a score, okay? And then we'll look at the whole picture at the end of this. And I want you to look at this from the perspective of how you are presenting yourself, your power, your self-expression, and your truth. This is your truth. This is who you really are. This is you being 100% honest with yourself and with the world. It's the inner and the outer game, okay? So for health, this is really the source of your vitality and well-being, mental, emotional, physical. This is how much you stand next to, inside of, and with your body. This is the beliefs, mental health. We have been through a lot the last couple of years when it comes to physical health, mental health, and emotional health. So I want you to stand mirror to mirror with you in this category. Where would you rate your health? 1 to 100% or the 1 to 10? Where would you rate yourself? And you can just write that down on a piece of paper. And actually, if you are a little more of an analytical thinker, I want you to just let go here for a moment and go with the first number that you think of. Okay, no one's going to see this but you. All right, let's move on to soul purpose. This is the fulfillment of your life purpose or mission. For some of you, you may believe that this is about channeling something greater than yourself. This could be your spiritual relationship with God, the universe, Mother Nature, whatever you might believe in. At the end of the day, this is how you feel fulfilled as a human being. So your connection to nature, the planet, a certain religion, your intuition. It's how you perceive yourself in the bigger picture. Are you clear? You feel like you live with intention? Scale of 1 to 10, not 1 to 100%. Next, we're going to move on to relationships. There's so much research about relationships and love in your life. And for most of us, the best moments in our lives. I'm sorry, guys. I'm moving my slides and not yours. Here we go. This was the soul purpose slide. Thank you for the notes, Janet. This is the relationships. This is about how much love is in your life through relationships. This is about intrinsic values, family. This can be about you and your personal family. This could be about you and your friendships. This could be about you and your colleagues. This could be about you as a parent. This is the love through relationships in your life. Where is it at? The science behind how relationships shape our expectations, our desires, our goals, how emotions spread from one person to the next, it's huge. We are so connected. And no matter if you find yourself with a 1 or 2 amazing relationships in your life or with hundreds, how satisfied are you in the expression that those relationships help you have? Okay, let's move on to career. Career is one of my favorites. I think it's because I'm an overachiever and I learned how to work really hard. So again, this is about putting your feet on the ground in the morning and feeling that first feeling about what you're about to go embark on. Whether or not you have a paid career, this is how you fill your day. This is the 9 to 5, so to speak, or the 8 to 6 or whatever. How do you wake up feeling? Are you in the ultimate expression? Is your self-expression getting completely and totally honored through your career? All right. And the next one is wealth, money. Money is a sensitive subject for all of us. We grew up with a lot of mixed messages about money. You know, one of the best quotes we've all sort of heard for years and years, if you haven't, here it is do what you love and all the money will flow. And when it comes to how I teach self-expression, I believe that in million different aspects in a million different ways. What would it be like to be able to build all the wealth in the world while being at your very best? You get paid to be you, in other words. How do you relate to money when it comes to self-expression? Does money snuff out your self-expression? Do you shrink around money, or do you expand around money? This is an important topic. Do you believe money is an ultimate or an unlimited resource? And do you believe money only expands everything that you are and your expression throughout life? Okay, scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 100%. And the last is home and style. Your environment and much of your quality of life starts here at home. It starts in your environment. It starts in your body, how you dress yourself, how you allow yourself to express via your style and via your home. Big stuff here. So when you put on your clothes every day, or when you go into your kitchen and potentially get a cup of coffee, are you seeing and feeling and living the exact expression that you want? I've had so many people in this category have massive breakthroughs around their home, their neighborhood even. How safe do you feel at home? We can't self-express very well when we don't feel safe. So how safe do you feel when you are leaving your home, in your neighborhood, in your city? How do you feel in connection to your community? So it's all of those things: your home, your community, your style, how you show up. Okay, so I know I'm going through these pretty quickly, but I want you to just get a high-level assessment. Which of these categories were highest for you and which were lowest? And if you'd like to use the webinar chat, I'd love to hear, where are you highest, where are you lowest, and what do you notice in relationship between your highest category and your lowest? Just take a few moments and feel free to share if you'd like to share. So self-expression is really the cumulative of where you stand across the board in these categories. Your highest scoring areas of self-expression are going to be your guide. They're going to help sort of like your North Star. And, for me, lowest was at the bottom of my legging drawer. I was on a high in life. I told you my story. I was on a high in life. Everything appeared great, but I was still waking up in the morning feeling 4 degrees off of my truth. And because of that, I wasn't able to self-express. And it wasn't until I realized that my leggings were a metaphor for me standing in my own way of my dreams to really be myself and to enter into a career, build wealth, build relationships. Everything in my life had to change, and those leggings showed me that they needed to. And so as I'm seeing everybody answer, like I said at the beginning, self-expression doesn't occur in a vacuum. You can't just say, gosh, I'm so great in my career. Awesome. There is a cumulative of adding up your being you in every single category in order to make your life everything that it can be. Okay. So it's really good. So doing this first activity is really good awareness for us. So hang on there and let's go on to number 2. And number 2 is really about coming clean with your dream. And so now that we know sort of where you're rating, now we're going to go, like I talked about that piano range. Now I'm going to go to the other side. Okay. I'm going to try to take you to the highest octave we can in your life. When I was a little girl, I used to dress Barbie for her dreams. And nothing that I loved more than getting off the school bus, flinging open that front door, running upstairs, opening my big closet, and pulling out all my Barbie stuff. And I don't know what I loved more: helping Barbie figure out what her dream was going to be that day, or dressing her for it. And it wasn't until I started wearing my leggings, you guys, that I remembered that. I had forgotten all about that memory. It's taken me almost 40 years to remember it. And I think that there's a lot to be said about remembering your dreams. So what I'm going to do is have you enter into a really fun, very creative activity I've done with many, many people. We don't have a ton of time. If we were in person, I'd have a piece of blank sheet of paper for you, and I'd have markers. So later on, just to cue you up, this is a really great activity to do, even with your kids or your friends. Get a piece of paper and ask yourself, and I do want you to ask yourself now, because most of you will be able to think of the answer. What's one creative thing you've always dreamed of doing, but haven't done yet, and why? While you're doing that, I'm going to wait for some responses. Hopefully some of you will answer. I've done this, as I mentioned, with lots and lots of different groups. And I remember several years ago, I had done this with a group of women. It was about 100 women. And by the time we had started and completed this workshop, the room was on fire. The room of these 100 women, I mean, you should have heard the things that these women said. There were things like, starting a center for abused women to grow and cultivate new lives. And I had people who wanted to build tree houses. I had people who were going to start podcasts. I mean, the ideas were endless. And I remember getting in my car, and by the way, I love the answers coming in. Dre read a children's book. Oh, yes. Letitia learning to make pottery. Andrew, stand-up comedy, right? Yes. So I got in my car that day and I just started crying. And I thought to myself, to God, I was just in such a moment saying, that is a room of people who probably aren't going to step forward and do anything with these dreams. So many dreams to make the world better, and they're all going to leave and get in their cars and go do life and forget about this activity. Why is it so hard for people to step into this incredible bliss that they're longing for, that they want to do? And then I heard a voice, and I'm telling you, if there's any God, this was the God. This was God. And the voice just simply said, why don't you do yours, Melissa? And it was one of the most convicting moments of my life, because as I set this activity up, something I didn't do today was I held up a picture of fashion clothing. And I said, I want to be a fashion designer. Ooh, that 82% imposter syndrome hit me, and it might be hitting you right now, but that's what I want to do. And that moment in my car, I said, I'm accepting the challenge. Done. I'm accepting the challenge. If I am so bent out of shape that none of these 100 women have any guarantee of going to chase this dream, I've got to be the first one. I'm going to do it. And the way that I knew how to do that was to start a YouTube channel. And that next weekend, I made the video. I was scared as hell, but I did it. And over the course of that next year, true story, everything in my life changed. I had videos that went viral. I opened myself up to some of the scariest, most vulnerable moments of shifting careers and getting bad comments. And I didn't care, because all of a sudden it was the next layer of self-expression that happened because I said yes. And it is scary as hell. It is scary as hell. And, I'm already even seeing in the comments that why haven't you done it yet? Yes. Perfectionism, fear, right? All of those things happen and they are going to rush in and happen. So I want you to hold on to your dream right here. I'm loving the answers I'm seeing. And let's talk about your why. Okay. Let's talk about your why. This is number 3. The number 3, my third way to really unleash your self-expression is you need to prepare for the dragon. Michelle, fear of failure and shame. That's the dragon. Has anyone heard this quote by Rumi? Our deepest fears are like dragons guarding our deepest treasure. This is one of my favorite quotes. And it's always had me really ponder, where am I letting my fear stand in the way of my greatness? I don't know if many of you have seen this slide. Have you ever seen this slide? Your comfort zone and then where the magic happens. This is, again, your range. Where the magic happens is going to put your brain in, it's going to want to combust. Your brain's wired to keep you safe. If you look at any great neuroscience that dumbs it down to my level, your brain wants to keep you in this beautiful little circle. Its job is to say, let's survive. So we're not going to go there. We're not going to go out. We're not going to do this scary thing, because if we do that, like Andrew mentioned earlier, oh my gosh, if we do that, all hell's probably going to break loose. And we're going to start, just feeling like everything in our lives is under attack. It's not going to feel good. But again, if we can be with those uncomfortable feelings for a couple minutes, we'll realize what's on the other side of it is the magic. The magic of stepping into the pottery making, the magic of being able to make cat furniture or stand on stage and deliver the speech of your life, right? Like there's so many things, the bliss of being on a microphone and making the crowd laugh. We won't be able to have those moments if we don't see that our greatest fears are just this invisible dragon. That's just like, it's just smoke and mirrors. And the way through that is through this quick story of Michael Jordan. True story, 1997. Anyone know where Jordan was in 1997? My picture gives this away. 1997, Jordan was actually living in the same city I was living in, which was Chicago, Illinois. Shout out to anyone who's in Chicago right now. And 1997, the Chicago Bulls were at their absolute prime. I think they had won maybe their 5th or 6th championship. They were on fire. Everyone on the corner was selling a 23 jersey, and Michael Jordan was, the man who we were watching and looking at for breakfast on the Wheaties box, and in the evening playing basketball. It was amazing. So my grandmother, who I loved dearly, she calls me one day and says, by the way, I was about 16 years old at this point. Melissa, I was at JCPenney's today, and I signed you up for a raffle to play golf with Michael Jordan. Okay. That's just like everything a 16-year-old wants to hear. And I'm being very sarcastic. I was a golfer through high school, loved to play, and being signed up for any kind of raffle by your grandma at 16 is like a horror story, right? But sweet grandma, I didn't want to disappoint her. She calls me the next day and tells me we won, of course. So here I am, I get in my car, drive to this golf course. And this was like a charity event. So there were selected kids who had won this raffle, and we were all kind of put in different age groups. And then we had this opportunity to play. We each got an opportunity to play a hole with Michael Jordan. So here I was on the 17th hole. I had not seen him all day. I was thinking, I'm going to get out of this. I don't need to meet this man. Seeing him from the distance was enough for me, right? This is me who is needing to overperform, right? Oh gosh, okay. My self-expression is performing really, really well. So I'm in that trap and I'm very nervous, and I'm walking onto the green of the 17th hole, and there he is standing there. Oh my gosh, I've got sweat coming down my face. I am just like, there's no way. How am I going to handle being with this giant, this 6'7" giant? And I remember I was setting up my putt. He was sort of bouncing around the hole. And then it got quiet. And I was like doing my pre-shot routine and set up my club right behind my ball on the green. And then I hear screaming and jumping and waving so loud, this giant. And I look up and it's Michael Jordan. And he is behind the hole screaming at me, looking right at me. And I mean, I didn't know what to say. Thank God I was a teenager. So I had a little bit of like fearlessness and smugness. And I just stopped and I looked at him and I go, wow, Michael Jordan, that is really distracting. And my heart is beating so fast. And he looks at me in the eye and says something I will never forget. And he says, distracting? How do you think I managed to make the game-winning free throw with 10,000 people behind the net booing at me? Now make this putt. It was dead silent. Oh my gosh. And here I am, and I have to make this putt. And I'm going to tell you, that was the best putt I ever missed. Did I make the putt? No, I did not make the putt. But it's okay. I didn't need to make the putt that day. I didn't need to try to prove myself. I had learned one of the best foreshadowing lessons for my life in that moment. And I got to take that with me from that day on. Here is a man who can stand in front of 10,000 people and make a game-winning free throw. Not because he wants to perform for people, but because he knows fear's the job. For him to be in his full self-expression, he needed to practice every single day for the booing. He needed to practice for that moment where the dragon came out. And look what happened when he did. So for you and your dream, and however your dream looks in any category of your life, you know, for you to go back to every single category we went through today and to ask yourself, what's the dream for me in my self-expression, in my health? What's the dream for me in my wealth, my home, my style, my career, my relationships? What's my dream? And where's my dragon? And it'll all become pretty clear to you what comes next. So I want you to face that. I want you to face the fear and practice for it. Just practice for it. When you have this focus, you won't have the fear anymore. That's the answer, Andrew, you asked earlier. It's focus. It's doing the work to say, this is it for me. This is my dream. This is where the dragon's going to show up. I'm just going to get up and practice every day. And when it doesn't feel good, I'm going to feel my way through it and I'm going to keep moving forward. That's your story. That's your story. And that is your self-expression. So I just want to leave you with this today. What would happen if you would say yes to your 100%? What would happen if you would say yes to your self-expression? A lot's going to happen. And in order for you to take this work forward, there's two different ways for you to take the work forward. Number one, do the work. I've given you so much good material here. Wherever you're most drawn to and most resonates, do the exercise, comment, connect on the Year of Joy Self-Expression Community Board. We're all here for you. We all want to support you. We all want you to enter into and erupt inside of your power. And you can also connect with me. Feel free to take a screenshot here if you'd like to. You can just reach out to me at melissagoodwin.com. I'm also on social at mvgoodwin and then on YouTube as well. Every day I'm preparing for the next dream that I have. And I want you all to know that. And the dragon keeps showing up. The dragon definitely keeps showing up. And I think that it always will when you commit to this work, but the joy has never been greater. The joy is why I do it. And for that, I hope that you leave here inspired and feeling like there's something for you here to take the next step forward in. So I'm going to pause there, take a deep breath, and let's take some questions, Debbie.
I'm waiting for some questions to come in, Melissa. That was such a great presentation. Thank you so much. I found myself sitting there thinking, why aren't I doing that thing that I want to do? What's stopping me from that thing I want to do? And now I feel like I have some guidance as to how to get it moving forward. Thank you so much. That is great.
Yeah, you're welcome. That why, we didn't get a chance to talk about it very much, but a lot of people will raise their hands when I say, okay, why haven't you done that dream? And a lot of people will say time and money. And just FYI, if time and money are showing up, that's the cheat answers. You're not allowed to say time and money. So just like Debbie, if you need to really figure out what's keeping me stuck, if you answer time and money, you got to go deeper. It's not about time. We all have time. And it's not about money either. If you look at some of the best like TikTokers, they're building houses on a penny budget and showing us inspiring things to do in 60 seconds with their bathrooms from, things they find in their house. I mean, there's so many creative ways to get around time and money. So that's just a little pro tip on that end.
I have a couple questions for you, Melissa. One is from Letitia. She'd like to know, how do you stay motivated?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. And it is a deeper question. I named it over the course of doing this. I call it my wild well-being, the assessment I took you through. One of the core principles I talk about is your lever. It's the value or the thing that you do that feels like effortless power that also gets results in your life. So one example in my own personal life is movement. I told you I grew up as a dieter. One of the bright spots in that journey, as dysfunctional and unhealthy as that was for me, was exercise and movement. I learned that when I exercised, I had the power over my body. No one else had power over it. I could make myself feel any way that I wanted to feel. And what movement does is it connects to this idea of victim. So I didn't need to be victim to my body. I could work it out and feel strong no matter the day. So look for the places where you feel victim, and then look for the activity that makes you feel powerful over that. Maybe there's a relationship in your life and you just don't feel good about yourself every time you interact with that person. You find yourself as a victim. What are ways you could begin behaving differently in that relationship to get your power back? You will find there's a flow of motivation if you can identify the places that you're standing victim and move through that. And that's a lot easier said than done, but that's my 30-second answer.
It's a good one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Janet wants to know, how do you expose yourself to the range of potential things that could be in your future if you don't actually have a passion or a dream from childhood?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's some really good questions you can ask yourself. If nobody were to ever have to hear the answer, what is your most passionate, what's the thing you're most passionate about? You also could ask yourself, where do I lose time? What am I doing when I lose time? And I've used this saying before, but just start pulling threads. There is a thread that locates whatever your dream is today or will be to who you really are. There's this thread running through your life, and you might not see it yet, and that's okay. It's not meant for you to see yet. But if you can start identifying the right here, right now places where you sort of lose yourself in time, you feel sort of like this effortless power in your life. I mean, it could just be making people laugh at work, right? Or it could be like playing a video game or a slew of things. You may love grocery shopping. I mean, there's so many different things. And I would say just start pulling the thread. And maybe if you're a writer, start journaling about it. Maybe if you're a talker, find a safe, trusted person to talk this out with, or a coach. And the thread will reveal itself. It doesn't have to start in childhood, but I do think that there's the embodiment of a value somewhere in your passion that will make sense the more you pull it.
It's good. And I would imagine that those passions, even from childhood, may change or morph as you grow.
Yes.
I've had a number of passions throughout my life, and all of them have been, interesting at the time and worth my effort.
Yeah.
But they do change, or I have found that they have changed over time. Might have an overarching umbrella to them.
Yes.
All of them may be about a similar outcome, but they do change as time goes on.
Oh, that's so well said. And you know what? You saying that, there's that put that little tick, everybody, to say you can let go of passions too. Maybe you have to let go of one to see the next. I struggle with that. Mm-hmm.
I remember Debbie and Melissa talking to one of our podcast guests a while back, Doug Keith, on curiosity. And so just for Jeanette as well, when he was talking about this and how do you find things, he said YouTube. That if you just sort of pop into YouTube, go down a little hole just for 10 minutes on any subject, any keyword, and feel into it. Do you feel that passion for what that subject is? And sort of no, yes, in the middle type thing, right? And just spend time sort of going down all these amazing rabbit holes of knowledge that are on there. Whether that's TikTok could be a young person's, I suppose, version of doing that, but you could find these things you never knew you had, these hidden sort of passions, these hidden sort of things you could be curious about. Maybe that could also be a way to help people uncover what they don't know.
Oh, I love that. Curiosity. I think too, go where you're most happy and start paying attention to what you think about.
Right.
Like I love shopping. Shopping's one of my favorite things. That it's just a sport for me. And I get my best ideas when I just get lost in the racks. I get my best ideas. And now I've started to pay attention, like, oh, this is where I've let go. This is where my joy is. Now, what am I thinking about? So.
Yeah. Find your happy mind, I suppose you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Find your happy mind. Oh, that's well said.
I like that.
Do you ever befriend your dragon, Melissa?
Oh, I see, Olivia. You asked that question. Do you befriend your dragon? I think that is a fearless question. I think that is very, very interesting. I would say befriend is an interesting word. I almost would say be with your dragon. I think there is something about curling up in a ball next to the heartbeat of your dragon and feeling its breath sometimes on your shoulders and listening to what it might whisper to you, knowing that your dragon isn't your dream, knowing that your dragon is not you, knowing that on the other side of your dragon, like that dragon will stand up and it will trust you enough to move out of the way so you can then enter into who you really are. And I even get goosebumps when I say that. That is a very interesting set of journaling and meditation / maybe therapy / maybe coaching experiences that I do think could change your life. Yes.
It reminds me, Melissa, of the saying somebody once said to me about ego, which is fairly sort of similar, and saying that you should have it in the car with you, but don't let it touch the steering wheel. And maybe it's the same with the dragon. Keep it in the back seat, and it's going to protect you sometimes when you need it, but don't let it drive.
Yes. Don't let it drive, and know when it shows up and know when it does take the wheel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's mastery. That's a lot. That's a lot of mastery. But for you to just know there is a dragon is a great first step. For you to now name that dragon. If all of you know you have a dragon, your next step is to name it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent. I like that. But recognize it's part of you, or she's part of you. Yeah. You don't deny it.
Yeah. I certainly don't expect that I am the ultimate voice on joy and self-expression. I'm curious for both of you, how you would define and where you would put your best inspiration in the relationship between joy and self-expression, knowing all the work that you two have done.
I think to really feel that true joy, and I talk about joy as being this muscle inside that I put a lot of effort into. I build that muscle so that I have this sort of a grounding of joy, because not every day is wonderful, not every event is wonderful, things happen in your life, but you want to feel joy. In order to feel joy, and so many things you talked about today, Melissa, are part of this recipe that Andrew and I came up with, that you need to have this well-being and this belonging, which is relationships and a positive impact. That's sort of your passion, your thing with the world. I think that from the research we have done, the research we have found, that's what really brings a full, joyful life together. I think in order to really have that, you have to be your authentic self. You have to express yourself in that way that has no curtains up.
Yeah.
No filters, right? You're you. And I use humor a lot. It's just the way I am. But I think that when I am able to make fun of myself, laugh at myself, that's when I feel really my most authentic self. Because I know we have flaws. I know that I'm not perfect, but I love my imperfect self. And that's the self I want everyone else to see.
Yeah.
That's a great answer, Debbie. I won't sort of repeat on that. I think the thing that I picked up from this, which I know I struggled with on my own journey, was the wealth part.
Yeah.
Right? Because I associated purpose and service with sacrifice. Right? Of seeing that I was only doing good in the world if I was sacrificing, and to learn that that's not the necessary truth. People can go down that path, but you don't need to sacrifice yourself, your love for yourself, your self-expression, your wealth, in order to serve. And somebody very wise once said to me, well, imagine if all of the capital in the world was in the hands of those doing good. What a wonderful world we would have. And to frame the wealth in that conversation, to say that we shouldn't be shunning the wealth just because we're trying to do good in the world, but to embrace it, to say, well, we could do much more good in the world if we had even more wealth. So yeah, that changed my relationship with it. And it was interesting because I never thought about it in terms of self-expression until today when you mentioned it. So thank you for that gift, Melissa.
Yeah, you're welcome. One of my mentors early in life in the personal development field was talking about wealth. And he said so clearly, money expands you. Money expands who you already are. And so I think that's such a great way to look at it, on giving yourself permission to say, I'm ready to self-express. I'm ready to be a force in the world in the most positive sense, and let money expand that, versus the corruptness of someone who isn't ready for that, who actually speaks through their dragon, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Melissa. This has been wonderful to have you today, sharing your wisdom as well as your passion. I mean, I think everybody on the call picked up with this is not something you're very knowledgeable about, but something you are hugely passionate about. And equally, you've practiced what you preach and express yourself, your authentic self. So thank you for that.
Yes, you are so welcome. And thank you, everybody who participated and who is here. Feel free to connect with me. Feel free to post on that Year of Joy community board. And there's so many ways to go deeper here. So we're excited for it.
Thank
All right,
you.
Debby.
And thanks everyone for participating, and for your wonderful chat. The banter through the chat was great. I loved that. It was a wonderful presentation and exercises that I feel like we can go from this and actually start working on some things for ourselves. So thank you very much, Melissa. Thank you,
You're so
Andrew.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day and a joy-filled one.